Okay, and now we'll just have that delay that I warned you about that Facebook is so famous for, connecting us over to our audience. And we are live. Welcome, mighty mystery fans. I'm your on-air host, Sarah DeVello, and I am thrilled to be here today with Loreth Anne White, author of In the Deep, whose book is out today. Loreth, welcome to Mighty Mysteries. Tell us about your book.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. I was just saying, I'm glad we got some technical issues sorted out. So yeah, In the Deep it's at the heart, it's a murder mystery, and it is framed by a courtroom drama. And it's a psychological suspense or domestic suspense about Ellie, who is a young woman from a privileged background. She's an heiress to a fortune of daddy's money, but she's also a lonely woman and a lost woman. And she's been struggling for some time with debilitating grief over the drowning death of her toddler. And the loss of her little girl has put a terrible strain on her marriage, and it's resulted in a very ugly divorce. Now her ex is remarrying, and Ellie's at a crossroads, and she's searching desperately for a way to rebuild her life. And enter Martin Cresswell Smith. Now, he's a real estate mogul. He's devastatingly good looking. He's successful. He's wealthy in his own right. And he's almost too good to be true. But Ellie is so needy for love, so desperate to move on, that she sort of ignores these whispering, lingering warnings. And they go on a whirlwind courtship. They get married in Las Vegas, and they move to a coastal town, a rural coastal town in Australia. Now, as the barrister, the defense lawyer cautions the jury at the beginning of the trial, watch carefully, listen between the lines, because all is not as it seems. And in Australia, removed from her friends and her family, behind closed doors, a really dark and sinister truth starts emerging, one that results in Martin's murder. And when Martin's body is discovered, Ellie seems almost relieved. And of course, she quickly becomes a prime suspect. But Loza Bianchi, a single mum and the local detective on the case, is not so sure of her guilt. She knows Ellie is hiding something. She's got secrets, but could she be a victim? And as Loza starts to investigate, and as the case takes one startling twist after another, Loza begins to think that maybe, just maybe, Ellie is playing them all. Or is she? So she's in for a shocker.
Ooh, well, I know I am all in because I love every single bit of that. And I cannot wait to talk about that. I just want to welcome all our friends on Facebook. Gail saying hi. Hi, Gail. Welcome back, top community member, Gail. She's such a wonderful community member here. She loves mysteries. She always asks the best questions. Welcome, Gail. Welcome, everybody else. So if you've been here before, you know how this works. This is your time with our featured author, with Loreth. So whatever you want to ask her about her book, her writing process, her travel, she's a recovering journalist, anything you want to ask her, this is your time with Loreth. So just go ahead and type those questions in the comments and I will get them right over to Loreth and she will be delighted to answer them to you. Now, I know it always takes me a moment or two to think of my questions. So while you're thinking of them, I have to share a few words of the incredible praise that this book is earning. So this got a starred review from Publishers Weekly, who raves that the book is told in superbly imagined alternating narratives, convincing character development, and a denouement worthy of Agatha Christie. Make this a winner. White has outdone herself. Oh my God, Loreth, congratulations. What an incredible review.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Kirkus raving in her latest thriller, White, deftly shifts from the present day murder trial to flashbacks of Ellie and Martin's relationship, as well as from Ellie's point of view to that of Laza Bianchi, the local police officer investigating the murder. This page turner is tightly written with a moody sense of place in the small coastal community, but it is the numerous twists that will keep readers thoroughly absorbed. A satisfyingly creepy psychological thriller. Wow, absolutely amazing review from Kirkus, and you know they are a tough critic, so that's amazing. Jason Printer raving, In the Dark is a brilliantly constructed Swiss watch of a thriller containing both a chilling locked room mystery reminiscent of Agatha Christie and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and a detective story that would make Harry Bosch proud. Wow, you've got all of the elements there. I could go on, and perhaps I will, but I want to get right into it. Karen is saying hello. Karen, welcome. Let us know what questions you have for Loreth. Gail, what questions you have for Loreth. Everyone who's watching, this is your time with Laura, so get the questions going, or you're welcome to just hang out and hear us chat all the things about the thrillers. So Loreth, let's dive right in. Why this book? Why now?
Well, I was visiting my brother in Australia, and he's an ocean guy. He's a big wave surfer, an open water swimmer, a hydrofoiler, and a fisherman. And we were out on his little boat, 10 miles off the coast of Australia at the continental shelf on the Tasman Sea. Mm-hmm. And Australia was just like this faint blur in the distance, and the other way was like New Zealand. And we were tossing about, no cellular service, these deep blue sea with these great veined white sort of froth on it. And ooh, I thought, anything could happen out here. And what if we didn't get home? Like, who would know? And so the little story bunny started turning, and just the setting in Australia. Like, I'm a very sort of visceral person with setting, and a setting becomes a character, and it's brash and it's harsh and it's angular and it's noisy. Oh. And I was also going through a very difficult period in our lives. My mom had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and I was taking a little break from caring for her and visiting my brother. And I got to thinking, thank you. I got to thinking how beautiful the scenery is, but also if you're in the wrong frame of mind, how hostile or sort of sentient and ominous it could be. Yes. So it's kind of, it started to play with the psychological angle. Like, if you've got unresolved grief or issues, how it can become a monster and turn everything around you into something different. So that was the conception for In the Deep.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's so true, because if you're not in that right frame of mind, they always, there's someone saying, and I don't remember what it is, but you can be happy anywhere and you can be sad anywhere. Basically,
so your worldview is filtered through your state of mind. And I think that goes to the core of psychological suspense or thrillers. Is the monster, the villain, is not out there, he's inside.
He's in here. Exactly.
He's in your head, he's in your home, and it takes a very different skill set to banish that kind of a villain.
Yes. Ooh, that is, there's a lot there. Yes, it takes a lot to banish that villain. That's so absolutely true. And I actually lived in Australia.
Oh, you did? Whereabouts?
Yes, in Brisbane. And I absolutely love Australia. I love Brisbane. I love all of Australia and Australian people. It's such an incredibly special place, and it's such an incredibly beautiful place. That turquoise water, those white sand beaches, the tropical. But you're right. It is, your worldview does impact, no matter, you could be in the most beautiful place in the world, but the demons within, as you said. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of the reviews. So, Kirkus and Publishers Weekly and many authors raving about this, likening you to Agatha Christie, raving that this is a tightly woven tale with many twists. What was how did you do that? How did you write this book to earn such high praise? Let's talk about how you did all the twists. Do you plot? Do you, tell us what that was like?
Yeah, I think when I come up with a mystery, I come up with the idea for a beginning and I have a general idea for the end. And tied into that is the twist, what the surprise is going to be. So I know that from the outset, or I think that that's what I want it to be. And then I have, whoops, can you still hear me?
Yes.
I I work on my character development, and then you can hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you
Okay.
perfectly. Thank you.
And then I plot around how best to deliver the story with the twist. So I sort of have the whole skeleton in mind, and I sort of flesh it out from there.
Okay, great.
I work in a 3-act structure, 3 or 4-act structure. The hero's journey is my thing.
Okay.
So you have the who they are, the beginning, what they want, what's going to stop the character from getting it. You know how they're going to come into their essence at the end, how they're going to get their prize. I sort of work out in the middle what the big turning point is, or the mirror moment where there's the sort of the point of no return. They're going to be on that journey for the rest of the book. And then once I have those key turning points, I can sort of settle into just the words and the writing each day, sort of doing a chunk of words.
Okay, wow. Okay, thank you for sharing your process. Karen's actually asking as well, Loreth, can you comment on your writing process? Karen, you're a girl after my own heart. We're great minds thinking alike. I love that. Thank you so much. And so, Loreth, when you are sort of plotting, mentally plotting it out in that 3-act structure, in that hero's journey, as you said, thinking about what your character wants and then fleshing it out from there. Do you know all the twists from that point of origin, or do they come to you as you go? Do they ever surprise you? What about, so many of the reviews raved about what a twisty tale you've woven and
Yeah.
praising you for that. How do you weave in the twists?
Well, I have the key turning points, and then one of them might be a twist, and I think I sort of really chunk it down. I go like each scene, each chapter, I figure out what the character wants at the beginning of the chapter, what's going to complicate the desire, and then how the chapter will shoot off in a new direction with the hook at the end of it. So each chunk gets popped in like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you envision that from the beginning, that whole.
No, it's and then as I go, new things present themselves. I kind of think about it like if you want to go from where I live to New York, you get the big map out and you say, okay, I'm going to go along this highway and I stop here, here. But you might encounter a snowstorm. You might take a little trip into a side town to overnight, and then you might meet new characters. So it would go like that. You sort of, once I have I want to go from here to here, you set on your journey, and then you can take your little side roads. Maybe you don't end up in New York at all. But yeah.
I love that. I love that. And let's
different.
stay with Karen's question a little bit longer. So do you plot that all out in your mind and hold that in your mind, or do you write it down, by hand? Is it on paper?
I make a chart right in the turning points, in the 4-act structure. And then I use Scrivener. I love Scrivener.
Me too.
And I have, how they have the little corkboard view, and I put those scenes on the corkboard, and you can move those around as much as you would if you had it up on your wall. And so I sort of say, okay, this is going to happen in this scene, this is going to happen in this scene, and I sort of have a few, and then as I go in, I sort of comb through and put a few more up and go like that.
Okay, cool. So you sort of just write the big overall notes like you would on a post-it note or an index card or in Scrivener.
Yeah.
And then you move those around and then you flesh them out in real time as you go. Okay, perfect. And then I just want to stay on Karen's question one more time, just because I love it so much and I'm so fascinated by process. So what's your writing process like on a daily basis? Are you a morning writer? Are you a night writer? Are you, you've got to get the certain number of hours or a certain number of words, or you just flow with it? What's your daily process like?
I'm totally a morning person, morning writer. I have a goal of a certain number of words per day when I'm, in the flow. And I will meet that goal, like hell or high water. I will try to meet that goal. So sometimes it'll be earlier, sometimes it'll be later, but I try to keep it realistic.
Okay.
And then once I've done that, at the end of the day, I will make a few notes about where I want to go the next day. So first thing in
Ooh.
the morning, I will wake up with my coffee. I will sort of jot a few notes, sort of sketching out the scene, and then I will go to the computer and write that. So that'll be that chunk for the day.
Okay, cool. Oh, very interesting. Karen is saying this is great, so interesting. Oh, Karen, thank you for the great question, sparing this conversation. Sharon saying that book cover is great. Gail saying she loves my virtual background. So Gail,
Yeah,
this
me too.
virtual background is Loreth's gorgeous book cover, which Sharon is saying she loves. So everybody's just great minds thinking alike. So Loreth, tell us about this fabulous book cover right here behind me.
Well, that is thanks to my team at Montlake and the art department. It's beautiful. I think it pops. I love the colors, and it fits with my previous book, In the Dark, which also has sort of a atmospheric scenery cover.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's they came up with that, and I loved it.
And was this the first one? And this was the first one they sent you and it was love at first sight, or was this number 101? Did you have to
You know,
struggle
I
a little?
think it was pretty much the first one. I had some questions because I don't know what you feel about it. I don't know that it's a little bit of a departure from what you ordinarily see in domestic suspense.
Yes.
So usually I think the trend is a female, the hint of a female figure,
Yes.
or and then something sinister
Yes.
implied, or a house with shadows or windows.
Yes.
So this is a bit of a departure. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I do hope it speaks to those readers who do like domestic suspense. But I think it's gorgeous.
I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. As soon as I saw this cover, I was like, that is a book I have to read. I'm an ocean girl. There's nowhere I'd
Yeah.
rather be besides the beach, besides the ocean. But what I love about this is that it is that beautiful landscape. And I think it's really sort of captured visually and captured artfully and artistically what you were saying, where you can see something utterly beautiful like this ocean, but there's something sinister about this particular ocean. Like there's
Yeah,
something sinister about
it's
these waves and these rocks. It's
metaphorical.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the metaphorical implications. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, I think actually something you've touched on about the, many psychological thrillers do have this female hint of a female form, or the back of a head, or the front of, a neck or whatever. So not just a neck, but like, neck down or something, where it's like, the hint of a female form, or the suggestion and implication. But you know what, I know there's a lot of controversy about that, because we don't want to exclude male readers, and we want to invite male readers to read the, books with female leads as well. And so for one, I really love that there's not a female form on this. I love that it's
Yeah.
just a landscape, and it's moody. It's got that atmospheric, it's got that threat, it's got that beauty, it's got everything that we're talking about. So I absolutely love it. Jessica's saying she loves it as well. So tell us about the title. Is this the first title you came up with, or?
Yeah, In the Deep, sort of the title sort of really happened before the book was developed, because it's a link to In the Dark.
Yes.
So it's In the Deep. So there's sort of a thematic consistency through the books.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then it works on a metaphorical, on a deeper level, where it's deep inside the psyche, where the monsters reside, where the problem is, which again goes to the heart of the domestic suspense genre, I think.
I love that. I love that. Iris Johansson, New York Times bestselling author of Smokescreen, raving secrets, lies, and betrayal converge in this heart-pounding thriller that features a love story as fascinating as the mystery itself. So let's talk about heart pounding. Let's talk about how you write a book. I think I'm really curious about how the process of writing a book that that incites in us a physical reaction of heart pounding, of being fearful, of being scared, I know I lay awake until 3 a.m. feeling scared when reading this. So but at the end of the day, and I always tell myself, it's just a book, it's just words on the page, but I feel scared in my body. So how do you do that? How do you convey something through a medium that's not alive, and incite such a strong reaction in readers? How do you get those hearts pounding?
Yeah,
Laura?
that's an interesting one. I think what I do try to do is have the scene happening blow by blow. So it's that whole that nugget, try to show, don't tell. So instead of summarizing what happened to somebody, you sort of show the blow by blow, and you don't really summarize the scene in between if possible. But I mean, it's a little different with this book because there's a lot of introspection. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know what the exact magic
but
doing that.
But you're doing it because you've done it. So let me ask you this: when you're writing it, does your heart pound? Or when you write it and then you read it, do you scare yourself? Does your heart pound? Do you feel anxious?
I suppose, yeah, you would. As an author, you try and get like right into the emotion. But it's more of an excitement because you think, yeah, well, I've got that feeling happening. It's you kind of feel that it's happening, or it isn't. I think the big thing for me is to, the more I read, the more it helps me write, pick up on the little tricks, or but I do think one of the key things is the showing, the blow by blow actions in the scene. Instead of saying, she ordered this and this in a restaurant, you just actually have her ordering the stuff in the restaurant. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I love that. And thank you for breaking it down for us. Kay is saying hello from Nashville. Hi, Kay.
Hey.
I've never been to Nashville, and I've heard it's such an incredibly cool city. So thanks so much for joining us. And she's saying she just finished her own daily word count. Congratulations. And she's so enjoying our discussion of your process. This is me too, right? It's so fascinating. I mean, maybe I'm a voyeur, I don't know, but I just want to look in and know what Loreth's process is like. So this is really cool. So when you think it is, so you attribute that heart pounding, that sort of, that burning up the pages that you have earned so much praise for, to being so specific, to doing that blow by blow.
And I think, now that I'm thinking about it, is to have created a sense of anticipation where you have set it up so that it looks like it's going to go a certain way, like some terrible, sinister thing is going to happen, and then you sort of either deliver or just don't deliver. So you just keep the mind active, the reader's mind engaged, because you just deliver something slightly different than was expected. But that sense of anticipation, I think, is big.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah. And Kay is saying show, not tell, the way that readers feel it. Absolutely. I love that. Loreth, what is your favorite scene from this book without giving anything away?
Oh, I rather like when Loza goes into the mangrove swamps to discover the body, where she finds the body. Ooh. And I like it because I sort of lived it, because again, with my brother, we went to a very similar Sussex inlet, which I used as an inspiration for my setting.
Okay.
It was, the water was full of these big jellyfish with these long tentacles and stingers, and we went into the mangroves, and it was visceral, and I enjoyed writing that scene.
Oh, very cool.
Trying to think of what else.
Okay, so the scene where she discovers the body, and you enjoyed writing about the jellyfish with the long tentacles and the mangroves.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. It's good to know. Good to know that's that's what you loved. That's what you loved doing. And I can totally picture those jellyfish with the long tentacles. How long did it take you to write this book, Laura?
This one took a little longer because I was at that in a difficult time of my life with my mom.
Yes.
Usually I sort of conceived it, I think it was February 2019. It took me 6 to 8 months, I think,
Okay.
to write.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's fast. Oh my gosh. And then what was the revision process like? How many revisions did you do? Was there a lot of it?
We have, you mean before handing it in?
Before and
I, I,
after?
I generally go through the book and then I go through it again. And then I work with a wonderful team at Montlake. I absolutely adore my developmental editor, Charlotte Herscher, if you're out there. She has
Yay, Charlotte.
such a deft and subtle touch. She sort of sees where you want to go, and we go through a very intense process backwards and forwards, maybe 3 4 times. Like she looks at the bigger story picture, that and the elements, the themes, or whatever. She gives me feedback. I turn it back in 2 weeks. She gives me feedback in a week. I turn it back in a week, and she sort of becomes more granular as the process goes.
Okay.
And so that takes about a month or 3 weeks to a month. And then it goes, through the copy edit and the proofread process.
So she gives it, you go back and forth 3 to 4 times in that month
Yeah.
of you each revising it. Her
Yeah.
giving you suggestions, you implementing, rewriting,
Yeah,
changing.
depending on the book, what needs to be done, what her thoughts are, that sort of thing.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
amazing things about Montlake and just the team there, and from the editorial to publicity, that everyone seems really happy there. So they seem like they are
Mm-hmm.
killing it. That's wonderful.
But great people to work with. Yeah.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So one thing I noticed, you as your bio says, a recovering journalist, and I noticed that a lot of your praise referenced, that this was a very tightly told tale. Do you think that your experience as a journalist, writing, not 80,000 words, or however long this book is, do you think that helped you to write a tightly woven story, or do you just naturally write tight?
I suspect it does. It must. I mean, I've been a journalist for many, many, many years. And I think what it taught me is how to sit down in a chair and write all day, like one piece after another, and how to handle, criticism and an editorial input, because, and then of course, once the story goes out, you get all kinds of reader letters or whatever. So it helps, you have to really open your heart and your mind to, I think, to write a novel. And then you kind of have to close it up a bit when all the input starts coming in, the feedback, because that's one of the challenges of writing. You have everybody reads a book according to their own sort of who they are, their own lens, and it's not going to resonate with everybody, and so that becomes a different process. But yeah, back to your question, I do think it definitely helps. It helps. It taught me how to put my butt in the chair and write and deal with the editorial input, and write tight, because your words would just get cut, to fit in the column inches. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, exactly. And that's something that I struggle with. I'm a verbose writer. So I'm always trying to rein myself in and tell myself to cut, but it is very hard for me to do. We've got some more great questions pouring in. Okay, saying she has goosebumps when you were talking about the discovering the body in the mangrove with the jellyfish with the long tentacles. Me too, Kay. I've got goosebumps too. Okay, so we've got two really good questions from first Gail, then Allison. Gail says, who are you reading right now? I want to know as well. Tell us what you're reading, Loreth.
I am reading, can you see? Lisa Jewell.
Yes.
In The Invisible Girl. I love, love, love Lisa's voice.
Yes. Okay.
And I have just picked up this gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that's one of our plays authors. Yep.
Have you read it?
I have not read that one yet, but she's one of the authors that we supported here at the Blaze, and I
Yeah,
absolutely love that cover. And she's gotten incredible reviews.
Yeah, I'm just diving into hers, and I'm also a great Audible convert.
Ooh, so who are you
More and
listening to, I guess?
more and more, yeah, more and more books in audio. Right now, I'm busy listening to The Silent Patient. Is it
Oh
The Silent
yeah.
Patient? By Alex Michaelides.
Okay,
Is
how's
that it?
that?
I'm really enjoying it. It's a psychological, it's probably a domestic or psychological thriller from a male point of view.
Ooh,
Yeah, so that's
cool.
an interesting one. And I am listening again to Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. I have a very nice Audible version. And
Yes.
obviously with the Netflix movie out, I wanted to hear it again. And
Yes.
so that's what I've got on the go with Audible right now. And next up is Lisa Unger's The Confessions on the
Confessions on the 745.
745.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I hosted Lisa the night before her book came out in the US for that book, and I just finished reading it.
Oh,
And
I missed that.
it is a zinger. You will not see this one coming. Lisa's so incredible. Wow,
Yeah,
what just such
I
an
love her work. Yeah.
she's
Mm-hmm.
so incredibly talented, and she's such
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful human being. I love Lisa Unger. She's just so wonderful. We actually I've had her on twice, and she's just such an
Oh,
amazing writer.
yeah.
Okay, I want to get to Allison's question next. Oh, Karen is saying Rebecca is so good. You know, I saw that it's a Netflix movie, and I am dying to watch it, and I haven't tuned in yet, so I cannot wait. So now, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Loreth, for that recommendation, because I will be tuning in shortly. Um, Allison would like to know, can you talk about how you approach writing different POV characters? Oh my God, Allison, you are a girl after my own heart, because I would love to know this as well. Loreth, share your wisdom with us.
I think anyone who has the ability to be empathetic and put themselves in another person's point of view, that's all you got to do. Is is do your character study. Figure out who your character is, what drives them, what they really want out of life, what their keys are, and then imagine. I mean, we all have experienced the basic emotions of grief, of loss, of anger, hate, revenge, jealousy, and you can put those into any character situation, I think. And so you just really imagine yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Okay, I love that.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Allison, tell us if that makes sense to you as well. Laura, that does make sense. One thing I struggle with while writing multiple points of view, though, is not getting stuck in my own, where I give where I'm able to put myself in different points of view. But then if they're disagreeing or they're seeing things differently, I have trouble coming back with that other argument, because I only see it. You know, it's like I just want to sort of have that one.
Maybe I'm a little luckier, as I've always got kind of two voices in my head, one going saying you should do this, one saying you shouldn't do this. I don't know. But yeah, I think the ability to feel empathetic and to put yourself into someone else's shoes goes a long way to imagining how they might feel differently about a situation than you do.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think, that's probably really lovely, heartfelt wisdom that's applicable off the page right now as it is
Mm-hmm.
on the page, when we could all, when our world is so bifurcated right now,
Mm-hmm.
that ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and to think about
Yeah,
what their experience must be like. The world could probably benefit from a lot more of that right now.
right.
So thank you for that.
To listen a little more and try and understand how another's world. I don't know if you've seen that Netflix show, My Octopus Teacher.
No, I've never
It's
heard of it.
utterly beautiful, and it's about a man's. He's having some trouble in his life, and he starts diving in the ocean every day, and he finds this octopus deep in the kelp forests beneath the water, and it's frightened and defensive, and he keeps going down every day and trying to understand that creature's world. and it's just going to the heart of what you said. It's that ability to try to understand another being or another creature, and how that can change your own world, which is awesome, which is what I hope reading and books, bring us.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I love that. That is what books and reading can do, is to bring us that experience of walking in another's shoes and letting us to experience that other person, that other experience, the other, as the anthropologists say. I absolutely love that. Allison saying that does make sense about the different points of view. And hi, Loreth, from Allison. Yay. Thank you so much, Allison. I loved that question. Loreth, what is some of the best writing advice that you, as a journalist, as an incredibly well-reviewed author, would like to share with us? What do you think the most important things are? I mean, you've already shared so many gems today of putting yourself in the other person's perspective. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think bottom line is read. I think the more you read, the more it kind of opens the doors in the brain, where it opens it down to where the muses live, and they start talking. And also, it's easy to come up with the ideas, but to put your butt in the chair and to push through the difficult parts. I mean, there are always really, really difficult parts, and you got to push through those. It's not easy, I think. And I think any writer will attest to that. There comes the part in the middle of the book, and it's just hard work.
Yeah.
And to push through.
How do you push through?
Set those little manageable word count goals is my technique, and make sure that I get through those. And if they're not working, to go back and try again, but is to set those goals and try to focus, which focus is difficult right now.
Focus is difficult right now.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. Loreth, what is one thing you want people to feel or learn or walk away from your book having experienced?
With this, I hope people are entertained. I hope it offers a little bit of escape, especially during this time, and perhaps to think a little bit about, mental illness, and understanding how that can become such monsters in another's life. Like Ellie, my character, the grief becomes, and the shame and the guilt becomes her monster. But I hope it offers some escape as something entertaining for a little bit.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, Loreth Anne White, thank you so much for joining us. It has been such a pleasure hearing you and chatting with you and hosting you here on Mighty Mysteries. Thank you to everyone for your amazing questions, for sparking and contributing to and sharing in such a juicy, wonderful conversation with Loreth and me today. We've so loved having you. Pick up a copy of Loreth's book, In the Deep, today through our very special partnership with bookshop.org, which supports independent bookstores. We're getting thumbs up from Facebook. I just want to remind everyone that, that voting is not just something that happens every 4 years or every 2 years. Voting happens with every purchase that you make. You're voting for the world that you want to see. So since the pandemic has descended, one independent bookstore has gone out of business per week since March. And independent bookstores, they need us. They need our love. They need our support. They need our freaking dollars. So through our partnership with bookshop.org, you can get the book today and you can support independent bookstores. I will drop the link in the comments as soon as just in 1 minute, right after we wrap up, and you can grab your copy today and support indies. So Laura, thank you so much. Congratulations on your beautiful book. Thank you for sharing your process with us. Thank you for sharing your book, your wisdom, your wit. We have so loved having you on, and we'd love to have you back on A Mighty Mystery next time your book goes up.
Thank you so much. It's been good fun. Thank you.
Yay. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We have a Wolverine expert coming up and wildlife expert coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern. So in just about 20 minutes, I will be right back with Allison Henderson and the Solitude of Wolverines. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.